All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We are here in Asbury Park, New Jersey today at Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent with Dave Viana, Chef Dave Viana.
Perfect accent.
That was pretty good. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to be here. Did a friends and family dinner here. How long ago was that? A month ago?
7 weeks.
7 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So almost 2 months now.
Almost 2 months.
That's pretty crazy. That It just feels like yesterday. And it feels like we're boys, and that was the first time I ever met you.
Okay, I like that.
Oh, so you don't feel like we're boys?
No, we are boys.
No, but I'm really excited to be here, chat with you.
I feel like we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, we're just good people.
Yeah.
Good people attract good people. Okay, cool. So I want to learn a little bit about you first because I was kind of doing some research just this morning among kind of like your background and like how you got to where you are today.
Google's amazing.
Google is amazing. I listened to you on like 2 other podcasts. One, I couldn't really hear you. The other one was pretty good, so I learned a little bit. But that was all after like the Top Chef stuff. So are you born and raised in Jersey?
Yeah, born and raised in Jersey, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Parents were Portuguese immigrants.
Okay.
So we spoke Portuguese in the house. We lived next door to my aunts and my uncles. So I got that really Portuguese experience where we had dinner at my grandma's house every Sunday afternoon, and it's a big part of my life is my Portuguese heritage and how I grew up.
Yeah. And then you spent time, I'm flashing further ahead, but at some point in your career, you spent time cooking in Portugal, right?
I did a 6-month stage at a 2-star Michelin restaurant in Portugal.
Okay.
Pretty epic. I was really excited. I speak the language. I'm going back home, and I walk in, and the chef, his name is Dieter Kaschina, and he's Austrian, and all of service is spoken in German. So I was like, that doesn't do me any good. Right? I was like, okay. But if you've ever done a European Michelin kitchen, it's like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
Someone who speaks German and Italian says something to the Italian guy who speaks also Spanish, who tells this guy, and next thing you know, I know that we have 3 orders of this. So,
that's good.
Yeah. It's a giant game of telephone.
Yeah, down the chain. No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so at what point, you said, like the family atmosphere, the Portuguese heritage, all that kind of stuff played a big role in your life. At what point in your life did you start cooking and then figuring out maybe like, this is something that I really want to do more of?
Yeah. I think at 15, I was my first dishwashing job. And I was in high school. It was at a catering company. And literally, they would walk out the door, having not washed a single thing all day, at 3:30, hand me the keys. And I was just getting out of high school, and I would clean up, and then I'd walk out at 9:30.
Yeah.
So that was my first dive into restaurant life, restaurant culture. It paid well. I liked working with my hands. Didn't think anything of it, and started doing other things within the company, and ended up being a short order cook. I worked all through college, never once considering this for a profession.
Okay.
I went to Seton Hall.
Just a way to make money.
It's a way to make money.
Yeah.
It was something I liked doing,
Yeah.
It was convenient for my schedule. So I did it all through college, never once considering it, because it's what you do until you have your real job.
Right. Nobody makes money in this industry.
Yeah, this isn't the real job. This is just what you're doing to get, to the real job. And I graduated Seton Hall, and I got a job in Union County Probations, and I was going to go to law school. I got accepted to Seton Hall Law. And I was going to work in probations in the court system, get my feet wet, do that, and then go to law school at night and have this perfect, well-rounded experience within the legal system to start then catapult my career to greatness in law. And I realized I hate the whole system. It's the worst.
Yeah.
So I was really unhappy. I was really unhappy with how little effect I felt like I was having in the world. I didn't find any catharticness in it. I didn't really feel like I was helping anyone in any way. I actually thought it was all corrupt and really jaded, and just like I was really finding unhappiness. And I was working a 9 to 5. I was in the field that I was going to spend the rest of my life in, and for the first time in my life, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I was just miserable.
Yeah.
And I'd never felt that washing dishes or working in kitchens or working in line, as hard as it was, as many hours I did, I never felt like I had a hard time getting up in the morning. So I'd fantasize about going back into the restaurant. I was like, at least I know what it's like. And I never didn't enjoy it, right? So I was like, and I liked following directions and doing things to make people happy. I like the instant gratification of knowing you did something right. Like a chef will tell
When
you
they
this
say,
is crap.
this is good. Yeah, right.
Throws it at you, or this is good. Like,
right.
Or even when you cook for someone, the smile it made, like that instant gratification was really rewarding, and I guess that's what I was chasing.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, because obviously, like what you just described, like going to Seton Hall and getting a degree, and then having a job, and then getting accepted to law school, and getting ready to like you said, have a real job, and then just being like, I don't want to do this anymore. Was that like what was your support system around you?
Oh,
was
tragic.
That, yeah,
No,
I would imagine that would be.
No. Like my dad just kept, like, my Portuguese immigrant dad was like but
oh,
you're
shit.
Smart.
Yeah.
You know, I just kept saying that over and over again.
Tried
like,
so hard with
but
you.
you're smart. You don't have to do this. Like, what is wrong with you? And he didn't talk to me for like a year after that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very upset. Very upset. And this smart kid did not want to do the smart thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that must have been.
It was tragic. And my mom,
difficult.
it was not until about maybe 8 years ago, 6 years ago, right before Top Chef, that my mom was actually even like proud of me being a chef. Like she would never talk about it. And then once her friends were like, "Oh,
which is pretty crazy because even at that point, like you had,
Food Network,
you had a resume up to that point.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And my mom, up until I got on Top Chef, my mom once a year would come up to me and tell me, that ShopRite's hiring, it's got a 401k and, it's benefits and like you can, and I'm like, Mom, would you, no, stop, please, like stop.
Yeah.
I'm not working at ShopRite ever. I've done something really wrong if that's where I'm going to be. And not that there's anything wrong with working at ShopRite.
Of course, yeah.
And
right.
for the record,
it's just not by ShopRite workers.
No, my dad worked at ShopRite his whole life.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not where I wanted to be. It's not what I envisioned for my life, and I had other plans, and that was it.
Yeah. Okay, so you make this huge life change. At that point, how old are you at that point?
22, 23,
yeah.
Yep.
So what was like the first job you got to kind of kick off the culinary career? So outside of like, the initial ones.
My first job out of culinary school was Mesa Grill, Bobby Flay. So I think we're talking circa 2004, 2003. Bobby Flay, Boy Meets Grills on Food Network. He's like, to me, like, the it chef at the moment,
right.
And before me getting really nerdy about it, like just superficially knowing about the industry, like I want to work for Bobby Flay. So I got a job at Mesa Grill, and I did my externship there and worked there for 6 months. Thought it was awesome. The food's delicious. Whatever you want to say about Bobby, he makes delicious, beautiful food. I thought it was a really great experience, and he had a really good culture in his kitchen. His chef de cuisine, Neil, who was also on his shows, really nice guy. They had, I think all summer long, every Sunday we had like a picnic, like that everyone could go to. They'd play soccer in the park, like things like that, like really next level things for that, especially that time period that other kitchens definitely weren't doing, and that I think people are starting to do now. We're talking 18 years ago.
Yeah,
we were definitely much more community driven and like a nicer, kinder, gentler kitchen for the time.
It's so funny. So we met through a mutual friend, Leah Gassion.
Yes, the lovely Leah Gassion.
Right, and she obviously also worked for Bobby. Mm-hmm. And like the way that you just described, like that experience, is literally almost exactly how she described it. Like, say what you want about him, and he's, like she had her own preconceived notions about it. Like he's so mean to the guy on Grilling and Chilling or whatever. Yeah. And then she goes, and it was like the same kind of thing. Like the work-life balance was like different, the culture was different, and the way he talked about kind of like his world was just different. So I just thought that was hilarious.
And it's ahead of its time. Like people are talking about that now.
Right.
And that's 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated it. It was almost like I didn't know, and I find this now too, younger cooks don't necessarily appreciate the culture that I've created here. Right? They got to go and see other things first and then maybe realize what it was, and I didn't appreciate it at the time. I just got out of culinary school. I thought every restaurant was like this, and then you start working, and then you're like, oh no, that was really nice over there. That was like this is totally different.
Yeah,
and it's natural.
Right,
you don't know until you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So you have that, like those first couple experiences. Was there like a point where in your head, because to me, sidebar, I used to coach college baseball. The only way that you could move up in that industry was by moving, like going to a different school.
Yes.
And I would imagine that this is similar because like really the only way to move up, I mean, granted there is some, they're a little chain of command in a kitchen, but I would imagine that there are opportunities to take bigger jobs that kind of get you more whatever it is, like chasing like a bigger thing. So was that similar? Yeah.
Yeah, I think ultimately, early on, I was like, I made a conscious decision to spend a year in a place and then move on.
Okay.
I wanted to see different food. I wanted to work in different places, experience different kitchens, work under different chefs, to see different things. So I made a conscious decision. So I moved on about a year. For the first 4 or 5 restaurants I worked at, they were only about a year each, including 11 Madison Park.
Right.
I worked for Michael White and Burrell, a year at a time, and then I would move on. And it was a conscious decision.
Was that also tough too, like trying to get that next? Because obviously, like I said before,
No,
you
it's
had
easy.
a resume.
That's easy.
Okay, so they're not. But if they hire you and they know you're, they see like year.
So there were a couple people that would
Yeah.
comment and say something, and now being on the other side as an owner, chef, running multiple restaurants, I don't look bad on it because I know my mindset when I was doing it.
Right.
And if someone gives me a year, that's a good amount of time, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's an exception. Like it's fine. Like you give me a year of your life, that's wonderful. Now 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, like when you're starting getting into months, you barely got your feet wet. Now you're gone. You're not really helpful, right?
Yeah.
So a year commitment to me, I think, is like a good barometer. I also understand the want to see and experience different things, to know what you want to do and to want to be and what you want to be around. You have to experience it. A couple different things. So I don't look down on it, but I had a lot of chefs, specifically Jersey chefs, sometimes get a little like butthurt about it.
Right.
They're like, "Oh, you've only been a year here. Where's the staying power? Where's the bill?" I'm like, "Well,
loyalty.
Where's the loyalty?
Right.
Where's the bowing and kneeling before me?" I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. Like, I thought we were just cooking. A year is not long enough for you.
Yeah.
It's fine. So I did run into those things, but I understand the want and desire to move around. And I think a year, for me, you settled, you learned, you were dependable, and now you're moving on. I shake your hand, I thank you for your time, and I'll find somebody else. And that's what it's supposed to be, I think.
Yeah.
It's my barometer maybe is a little lower than others, but
Sure.
I think that's a fair...
Yeah, but you did it, so you understand why you were doing it, and it
Yeah.
helped you kind of, to me at least, I would imagine that going into those different kitchens, learning how different kitchens operate, learning like how different food is cooked,
Yes.
like different cuisines and all that kind of stuff helps round you out so that,
all
because
the
you want
things, man.
you
There's
want
so many
people that are
details.
like aggressively pursuing like better stuff, right?
Yes.
Not just being like, I'm cool here,
No, I was never looking. I was always looking. I kept detailed notes on, even the way people organize their dry storage, the way they organize their walk-ins, the way they label things. There's so many different little details that I've learned from different places, and this is what, and even what not to do. As long as to me, the whole purpose was taking copious notes and learning what I wanted and what I didn't like, what was working, what didn't work, and why.
Right.
And I kept track of these things, so when I finally had the opportunity to do it my way, I had a list of things that I want to make sure that I do when I'm running things or when I'm in charge.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point. It's really to learn, and as long as you're taking it professionally and being dependable, and I always find that when someone leaves and it hurts, like, oh man, they were so good, or that's a tribute to them. That they shouldn't be penalized for being so useful and so helpful and so a big part of what we're doing.
Right.
It's my job to want to make him stay, and if I didn't, they don't,
Yeah. Right.
and then they're on to bigger and better, and I'm appreciative.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people that leave the most mark, chefs react really, really poorly when they leave.
Right.
And that sucks. Like, it puts a whole damper on the entire time you spent there when they're being upset that their life's going to get harder because someone they put time into is now leaving.
Yeah.
But that's just a credit to what they meant and what they did for you. So
and particularly,
thank you for that.
which just seems like this industry is like super small. And
Yes.
like it's just such a small world. Like everyone knows everybody. Like you say
Yes.
one name and he's like, oh, I know that person, or I know that, or whatever.
Yes.
You don't
run
want
into
to burn
the
some
same
bridges
people.
around here. Yeah.
You run into the same people all the time.
Yeah.
Especially so, for an industry where there's like a restaurant nearly on every corner of the country.
Right.
There's so many restaurants in every town and every city. It's so funny that once you get into the higher end, like I find that when you decide I'm going to work for the best of the best, that becomes a very small circle, and you'll run into the same people over and over and over again because there's only a handful of those people that are willing to do the hours and the work and the level of that it takes to get into that world.
Yeah.
And then now you're like bumping into the same people over and over again, whether it's New York or New Jersey. you're running into each other all over the place, and you'd be surprised that, oh my God, we just missed each other. Yeah, I work with this sous chef. Oh yeah, you know so and so. Yeah, I know so and so. Oh, he talked about you. No, what did he say? Like it becomes
Right.
real quick, real
Yeah.
clicky, real small, real quick.
Yeah. Okay, so this is gonna be our last question before we take our first break because we're like a
Cool.
little bit over, but that's okay. So you were talking about like moving on to bigger and better things and like all that kind of stuff. So at what point in this career do you have like that moment where you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself and I'm gonna open up my own restaurant? Like going from working for someone to being
Yeah.
like the guy.
Well, there's a story of that because I was in my mid-20s, 27 probably, when I decided to open my own restaurant. And that's the thing they don't tell you about this industry. So whatever it is, the kitchen, the hours, and the heat and the sweat and the cuts and the burns, that's all noteworthy and easy to understand. That's right up front in
Yeah.
your face. It's like I partnered with someone who I was involved with in one of the restaurants, and they started stealing from me.
Oh, great.
While the restaurant's being built, we just did this partnership,
Yeah.
and he's taking like 40 grand out of the account for petty cash. I was like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that to me is a breach of trust, and I no longer want to be partners, and I want to buy you out, and da-da-da-da. And he said, no. He's like, I'm betting on you. I want to be. We're gonna do this. You're gonna get over this, and I'm like, no,
over it."
that's not a Jedi mind trick. What do you think this is? Like, no, like I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I can't work with someone I don't trust. So I ended up in a legal lawsuit for 2 years. I was married at the time. I got divorced. I moved back in with my parents because I had to pay off the loans, and the restaurant wasn't open because we weren't continuing the construction because we were fighting this legal battle. So
Right.
I was 27 when I thought, I'm going to bet on myself. And, and I rolled snake eyes, like total dead end, messed up. Thought I made a life-changing, horrible decision. After the 2 years, we settled. I lost a little bit of money, but it was like not a big deal. And I actually, in that meantime, those 2 years while we were in court, I moved back in with my parents, and I got a job as a line cook. I literally was so defeated, questioned everything so badly that I was like, I want to do something that I know that I'm going to be good at. Let me be a line cook. I don't want
Right.
any responsibility. I want a prep list, some things to do.
Yeah,
and
what you know.
Just
Yeah.
let me just get some successes under.
basics.
Yeah, back to basics. Let's get some wins under the belt. Feel good about myself again because I really felt really horrible about myself.
Right.
And that's what I did when I was 27. Like I hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And then after that, I never bet on myself again, technically. Heirloom was me almost quitting cooking. I had been working at
Right.
that point. Yeah.
Bigger and better things. Yeah. This is
No,
fantastic.
it was me quitting. I flash forward from 27 to 35. I've now run 4 restaurant openings. I'm here in Asbury Park. I moved from Hoboken, Asbury Park to open up Bar Castero, and I am literally 8 months in, working 100-something hours a week, making $50,000 a year, which is like chump change.
Yeah.
Living here in Asbury.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Right.
And I'm like looking in the mirror, and I look like I've developed a heroin addiction, but I didn't. And I'm not sleeping. I have a 2-year-old that I barely see, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not making any money. I'm barely scraping by. I've got nothing to show for 15 years worth of blood, sweat, and tears. And like, this is, if I'd put any effort, this amount of effort into anything else, I know I would be fine. I'd be making 6 figures somewhere. Like, I know I'd be better off. So it was like that time to look in the mirror and blame myself for all this. It's not the owner. It's not your partner. It's not, you're making these decisions. You're getting in these predicaments, and it's your bad judgment that's doing all of it. So
Right.
like, you're not suited for this. For one reason or another, you're not suited for this. Whether you can cook or not is another story, but it's not working out for you. This career or this life isn't what you want.
Yeah.
So I was quitting, and Neely, who lived in town, would eat at Barrio, and she had a little cooking school and wanted me to be a teacher. I politely declined. I was like, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go into electricity. I was thinking about being an electrician. I was like, I'm going to do that.
Right.
Because it's a hard day, it's a work, and it's pay. I could do that. And she talked me into changing her place into a supper club on the weekends and a cooking school during the week. And for some reason, she was very persuasive. She's very talented. We did get along really well. She was one of the most honest people I'd ever been around. Very generous person, and it felt like it was worth the risk. It was like, okay, I want to work with this person. What's the worst I can pause my career-ending choice for one more year. Right. Let's give this a try.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it does. And I had very little expectation. I didn't think it was ever going to be anything great, but I thought, a 3-day restaurant and a 2-day week classes sound like a better schedule than anything else I had worked. So I was getting like the work-life balance, and that's the bet on myself. And that I bet on Neely and me and the chemistry, and that's what the bet was.
Right.
And until then, I really hadn't succeeded at any of the bets. They all went nowhere.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you just you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. Boom. Cooking reference.
Boom.
There
and we ended on that.
There we go. All right. Awesome. So we're gonna take our first break of this episode. That was phenomenal. I have so many more questions, but we have to chop it up a little bit. We'll get them in the second segment. So this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Asbury Park, New Jersey today at Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent. With Chef Dave Viana.
You're nailing them.
I'm crushing it.
You're crushing
it. I'm basically French. We'll be right back.
Cheers.
My name is Chris, founder of FLK Method, where being fit does not feel out of reach. In fact, you're going to have fun when you show up for class. FLK also offers access to a supportive community, monthly partner challenges, and instructors who care. Not to mention our amazing in-person events, more than 20 styles of workouts, and on-demand channels designed specifically for your goals. Head to fitlikechrys.com, that's FITLIKEKRYS.com to learn more or to get started for just $25. Give yourself a chance to feel your best because that is exactly what you deserve.
All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Asbury Park, New Jersey today at Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent. I'm just going to keep saying it because I keep crushing it with Chef Dave Viana. So in the first segment, we got a great kind of like background on you. I thought that was awesome. Learned more about you than I had known prior.
Awesome.
I didn't know a ton, but I knew some. So I do want to talk real quick because we touched on it a little bit in the first segment. But you were on season 16 of Top Chef?
Season 16, Kentucky.
Yep. And what was that? So did you grow up watching cooking shows?
Yeah. So the first year I was cooking professionally was year 1 of Top Chef.
Okay.
So I feel like I grew up watching it.
Yeah.
I watched Chopped. I watched all the other cooking shows, but Top Chef was always my favorite. I always felt that they had the most talent, and it was always the goal, right? Like I was like, if I want to be on any cooking show, that's the one. And I got really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And what was that experience like from basically watching to actually being on the show?
Yeah.
And
it's
just
surreal.
Yeah.
Like the very first episode was surreal. Like Tom, Padma's there, it's like, what? I'm here.
Right.
Like pinch me, I'm here. Like holy moly.
Yeah.
So I was definitely geeking out for a couple days. I didn't hit my stride because of it. I think I was super amped, super out of my body, kind of.
Yep.
And those nerves in that first couple episodes are really at a 10. And then you kind of start hitting your groove, and then unfortunately for me, then fatigue started setting in, and that's when you go home.
Yeah. So I think you finished 8th? Is that right?
8th.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, halfway.
Yeah.
Maybe halfway.
It's better than 10th or whatever.
It's honestly just it's kind of gonna sound cliche, but it was just being there.
Yeah.
Hitting a milestone in my career, doing something you've always dreamed of,
right?
And then meeting super talented people from all across the country. All now you got this cool bonding experience, and I travel to Minneapolis. I hit up Justin, and we go eat at his spots, and I get to see every major city, whether it's San Francisco with Michelle or Kentucky with Sarah. Wherever I go, I get the cool places to eat, and the ins and outs, and get the real vibe of every city, which is awesome. The best way to experience the country is through the eyes of another chef.
Yeah, which I think is so cool because it's like a competition. But then at the end of the day, everyone's just come on out. I'll take you around, show you the spots.
I think we made a very big concerted effort in our season, and it might have been one of the first or second seasons to do it. Is to dude, we're competing, but let's be honorable about it. Let's put our best selves. We're people, we're friends. Let's get to know each other, and then let's kick each other's butts when the lights are on. But let's just be real and cool, and we all kind of kind of rode that wave. That was our mantra. Let's help each other. I want to beat you at your best, not because of an accident or a mistake or whatever. So if you look at our season, there are many times. The day I went home, I literally helped plate somebody's dish. They wouldn't have gotten it on the plate, and I went home that day. And if I had done nothing and just let him flounder,
right,
they wouldn't have put up anything.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of way we rode, and it was pretty cool, and that's been ever since. So now when we're done, we have all these friendships. It was never super competitive. It was never catty. It was never nasty. It was just cool,
right,
and it was appreciated, I think. And
yeah.
I think I look back on it longingly, and it was a cool experience because of it.
And so, how long did you have Heirloom open before you did Top Chef?
I think it was 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and how long were you in Kentucky, gone from the restaurant?
2.5 months.
Okay, so that's a long time to be away from your spot.
Yeah, I'd cooked every single protein for that restaurant until I left. Before I left, no one else had ever done anything.
Yeah.
I had been on the stove for every guest, for every dish we ever put out. I was the one cooking it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was another cool thing about Heirloom. When you go to David Burke's restaurant or, even Leah Gaccioni's restaurant, Leah's not cooking your steak.
Right. Sometimes
David Burke's
when she's pissed off,
Totally. No, sometimes. But
yeah.
I cooked every steak
that
ever went out of that kitchen.
That's crazy.
I cooked every duck. I cooked you don't go to a restaurant of a chef and then have that chef cook all the food for you.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
So I'm and you got to sit in front of me and we would bullshit all night, right? So we talk and hang out and oh yeah, here's your duck, and I was like, this is the coolest place there is around. And I didn't know that anybody was doing anything like it. And luckily someone from Top Chef came in and ate and thought the same thing, and that's why I got on the show. I was asked to be on the show. I didn't just apply and
right. Try out.
It was
like open auditions, like American Idol.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't go to an open audition.
It's a no from me, dog.
Yeah. It's a no from me, dog.
Okay, so what I think is cool about that is that you're gone for 2.5 months. You were very involved in the kitchen.
Yep.
What's that like? I mean, what's that like? The separation anxiety that you must have felt. Oh shit! Is this gonna kill my business?
No, for Top Chef, I was just.
You were just in it.
Psyched.
Yeah.
I was so.
That makes sense.
I was so stoked about going on Top Chef. And then we also hired someone who I had been friends with for a little bit and run in similar circles, and someone really, really talented it was in between jobs. And I knew he was going to be filling in, and at the very least, I'm like, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's 2 months, everything's going to be fine. And honestly, it was Rob Santello, and he's still part of our group. When we got back, he was such a seamless. Everyone loved working with him, Neely included, and that's really, she's very judgy. We're all judgy.
Good save.
This is what makes us.
Right.
And we just can we keep him? Can we keep him? And we did. And if we were if we're going to grow this company, we want to keep good people, and Rob was that. And now here at the Saint Laurent, and Rob is executive chef of the Saint Laurent.
Right. So. Great segue. You're like a pro. All right. So at what point, we said 7 weeks ago we did the Friends and Family.
Yep.
We opened that Thursday, I think. So basically, you've been open for 7 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is.
7 weeks.
So, talk to me about the opportunity that this was for you, and kind of the process that went into opening this place, and then we'll talk about what it is.
Sure. So. We had been trying to grow Heirloom after Top Chef. We had a little bit of wave, and then COVID happened. So we had been in this place where we had hired Rob, and we had good people, and we had the same team for a really long time. And before losing them, we wanted to grow. But COVID happened, so we were all kind of stagnant for a little bit. And then we had this plan to open up a second restaurant, which is called Lita, which is not the Saint Laurent. And when you're saying, well, what does that do to the Saint Laurent? This wasn't a plan.
Right.
The Saint Laurent wasn't something that we decided we wanted to do, open up a restaurant and a hotel in Asbury Park. I never even considered Asbury Park because the liquor licenses are so expensive, and we want our second restaurant to have a liquor license. So I live here in Asbury Park and never considered opening up something in Asbury Park. But we ran into the owners of this hotel. They just bought the hotel. They're renovating it. They ate at Heirloom. They loved it. We did a pop-up in Philly for 6 weeks. They live in Philly. They went to the pop-up 3 times. And I guess through that vetting process, they told us that we're the only person that they wanted for this project. And this project was happening about 6 months before our second restaurant was opening. So our lead is under construction now, and that's the only project that we were actually gearing up for. And this kind of happened in between. So it was like, okay, it's almost an offer we couldn't refuse. It's right in our backyard. I live 2 blocks from here.
Right.
I can walk to work.
Yep.
It's a historic building with a beautiful story. It was the first woman-run hotel in New Jersey in the 1870s. It's got tons of LGBTQ inspiration, and it's part of its history. It's been a kind of a part of that community for forever.
Yeah.
And our owners wanted to preserve that. And I love that story. We're a woman-run business. Heirloom, Neely runs Heirloom Kitchen. So this has all felt really good and really natural, and we want to do something great. And I don't think the Asbury Park has anything great in it. There's a lot of good, a lot of wonderful, a lot of really good, but nothing special to me. That where the food and the service kind of elevate everything.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do. We just want to do really special things. So we felt like it was perfectly nudged in between the 2 projects, so that and we had enough talent in our kitchen that we could do it. So we looked around and like let's get it done.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how it came about. And as far as the work, man, it's nonstop. I would say for me, as the chef, my work starts about 3 weeks before the final nail goes in the ground when they're done with the construction.
Right.
As far as the actual space, I start organizing it. I start getting the menu together. I start sourcing things. I start talking to purveyors. Actually, if you want to be really technical, 2 months before the project, I was interviewing cooks. So I had my management team in place, but I needed a staff, and we interviewed some really great people. So that was getting done 2 months before the opening, and then I would say 3 weeks before the final nail. That's when I'm on property every day, getting all the things I need to get done to open.
Right.
And then I think about 3 weeks after that, we opened.
Hello. We've only mentioned you twice in this episode so far. Yeah, we're like on right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to the episode.
Does this get edited?
No,
I don't know.
We're keeping this part
Probably
in,
not.
I think.
Neely herself, ladies and gentlemen. Neely herself.
Where were we?
The opening.
Okay. Yeah. So let's
through-
let's take us through like what it is, because it's a hotel, it's a restaurant, social club.
So it's a historic hotel. They renovated all the rooms. So there's 20 rooms here. They're a little small because of the nature of the hotel. It's so old, the 1800s. People had a lot less room. If you ever see those brownstones,
I feel like people were smaller back then. They must have been.
Had to be.
Had to be.
Had to be.
Yeah.
If you look at those brownstones, like I've actually taken a tour of some of the brownstones in Jersey City when I was moving up there. I'm like, they're tiny.
Yeah.
The rooms are tiny. They're closets, literally closets. Like, who could live in here? Anyway, so the rooms are smaller, but there's a beautiful outside pool where there's a social club. You could be a member of our pool. The social club membership gives you wine tastings, special dinners, cooking classes here at Heirloom. There's also, throughout the points of the year, different celebrity chefs that are going to be coming into the kitchen, and you'll get first dibs. So the social club is not a mandatory thing. You can sign up for it, and you get first dibs on certain things like pool chairs and seats to these special events and special wine dinners and classes. But this is open to the public. You can come in for a drink, a dinner, sit for dinner. The property is open to everyone at all times. You can come in for the pool, or you can stay at the hotel. So it's open to everyone. But there is a social club component in that we have a calendar for people that are interested to do special things throughout the year. And it's just like a social calendar. And that's also for people that want to do that.
Yeah.
That's available. And then we do lunch and dinner 6 days a week. So we close on Wednesdays. And then the other 6 days a week, we're open lunch and dinner. We have a cool signature burger we have during lunch. We have a cool crudos. I think of food you want to eat in a bikini for the lunch, because we've been open for the pool and for the summer. And that might change.
Maybe after this I'll strap on my bikini, maybe I'll have lunch.
You seem like a thong guy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Banana hammock. Yeah. Just if I were gonna size you up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. A lot of people have said that to me in my life. So yeah, it's interesting. It must be true.
Oh man.
Okay.
Little known secret though, we were one of the first people to ever be in the pool. I think for the friends and family, we ended up jumping in the pool that night.
Yeah.
I think it was after a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
Or
It
was
was.
it tequila?
It was whiskey.
It was whiskey.
It was a
We finished
lot
the
of
bottle of
whiskey.
whiskey
Yeah.
between the three of us and ended up in the pool.
That was a great night. And that was after
amazing.
drinking during dinner, which
Yeah.
was amazing. Like everything that came out of that what I think is so cool about the kitchen, and I'll say it because you haven't said it yet, is just like the way the kitchen's set up. Like it's all open and like the pass is right there, and you could like see you guys working back there,
Yeah.
which I think is so cool and not something that you normally see. Like at some restaurants, I'm sure it
do.
has it, but
It's more and more popular.
rare.
I think ultimately, it's to me, it was the thing that changed my career a little bit. Heirloom Kitchen was an open chef's table counter concept. So I was cooking in front of people all the time. And it was the thing that was missing from all the cooking in my career up until that point was a connection with the guest.
Yeah.
You're in the back, it's hot, you're sweating, there's this ticket machine spitting tickets at you all night, and you're disconnected from the joy of watching the people eating the things that you're making.
Right.
And you're trying so hard and you're perfecting what you're doing and you're putting out all this energy. And you're not getting any of the reward of watching someone smile after they take a bite. And that was sort of one of the, like that instant gratification, like I said earlier, it was one of the reasons why I started cooking to begin with. I like to see someone enjoying that. I want to make people happy. This is why I chose this profession.
Right.
And that was taken away. And so no project I will never do any project that doesn't involve an open kitchen. I want all my guests, all my chefs, all my guests to see the work that's happening and all my chefs to see the smiles on people's faces, to know that there is a reason for all this work that we're doing all day.
Right.
We're making memories, we're making people happy. I want you to see the smiles. I want you to understand that there's a reason, right? And that was very reassuring and very rewarding for me to take down the walls and see that. And I want to give everyone the opportunity that works with me to see those same things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we don't have walls. And none of my restaurants will ever have a wall in the kitchen. They'll all be open concepts. I really do believe strongly that it's a big part of what we do.
Yeah.
In getting that reaction, that satisfaction
Yeah.
from making people happy. That's what we do for a living. You'll be less likely to say, no, can't put the parsley on the side, or no, like this is part, like it's integral to the dish. Like
Yeah.
if you see the people right across from you, if they're like trying to just enjoy a night and they don't like just take the parsley off, dude.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand the problem like some people have with so many of these things, but it's from that mentality because you're like just used to staring at the wall in that ticket machine, and you're irked by little requests that change your processes, but those requests are important for their happiness, and that's what we're doing, is making people happy, not just doing what's on the ticket.
Right.
We're actually making people happy.
Yeah. And then just real quick on like the dinner side, because I know you mentioned some stuff from lunch.
Sure.
Dinner, I would imagine, like less so stuff that you would eat in a bikini, more so stuff you would eat.
Yes, I
something
would
nice.
describe it less so stuff you eat in a bikini. It's a prefix dinner, so it's $89 prefix. So everyone who comes in gets to choose from a list of appetizers, a list of entrees, and a list of desserts. But you get one of each. And then we have a full liquor license. Our mixologist, Ricardo, came from Miami, the Broken Shaker. He's extremely talented. Some of the best cocktails I've ever had. So we're really proud of that part of our concept.
Yeah.
And then Rob is crushing it with his dishes and his food, and we're very collaborative here at Heirloom. So Rob has a bunch of dishes on the menu. I have a bunch of dishes on the menu. Everyone brings their experiences and has an opportunity to contribute to the menu. Throughout my life, I've learned as much from a dishwasher or a line maid or a chef as I have from anybody. So I just really appreciate having that open conversation and open opportunities for everyone in my kitchen to contribute in some sort of way to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're always learning from each other. So as long as we're continuing the conversation, it's all good.
Right.
So that's all part of it, too.
No, that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to take our second break,
Cool.
our last break of this episode.
Dope.
So this is the Greens from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We are here in Asbury Park,
exhausting.
New Jersey.
We should take more breaks.
I know.
We need more breaks.
More breaks.
More breaks.
Well,
Longer podcasts, more
We're like
breaks.
rolling like a lot longer than normal, but you're just telling all good stuff, so I can't like cut you off.
Fair
you know what I mean?
enough. I talk too much. Heard.
No. Oh, I mean, I would tell you if it was boring, I would have cut you off already. We would have been done and out of here.
Very good. Very
good. But we're here in Asbury Park with Chef Dave Viana. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, Mike Ham here. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Chef Dave Viana of the Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent in Asbury Park. To learn more about the show, myself, or to listen to all of our other great episodes, make sure you head to greetingsfromthegardenstate.com And if you like what you hear, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back. This is segment 3 of the episode of Greetings from the Garden State. We're here in Asbury Park, New Jersey at the Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent with Chef David Viana. So we've crushed this episode so far. We've learned so much about you, kind of like your background, the
I think
restaurant.
you just jinxed me, man.
Yeah, this is going to be like the
All
worst
of a sudden I
segment
have
of the
nothing
episode.
to say, but,
yeah,
oh.
this is going to be like 4 minutes. At least it'll keep us like on our average time. We've gone a little bit longer than normal. The one thing that I forgot to ask in the last segment, which I just want to make sure we touch on, is this room.
Cool.
So this is like the lounge, and like you were talking to me about like the walls the last time I was here.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we just do that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. The walls in this room are the old tin roof ceiling of the space. So there's a little bit of the tin ceiling in the dining room, and then we took the rest of it, and so as to not lose this history, and we repurposed it as the walls of our lounge. And there's all this beautiful natural patina of the aging of the tin and all around us, and it's actually really beautiful. And it was on the ceiling before, but you couldn't see it because it was so dark in here. You didn't really truly appreciate it. So what I love about it being in this room and in the dining room, we uplit it. You can actually see the age
it's really
something
cool.
that's over 120 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's untouched since the 1800s. So, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Part of what they did to restore this place is they took a lot of time and energy to give homage to what was here and not change it too much, or at least incorporate some of the really special things about it and keep it part of the history of it.
Right. But also make it like, because you have like these bookshelves over here. You can't really see them on camera, but we'll put up something. But like, that seems like really modern, and there's like, the old school, new school, and then you go back there into your space, and that's like totally like a...
Like more glamour and like bright.
It's like bright,
airy.
white. This is kind of like,
Modern.
dark, and like I want to like wear a robe and smoke a cigar in here. And
we're going to be starting live music here.
Awesome.
3 nights a week. So you get a really insane classic cocktail. This is where Ricardo, our mixologist, actually spends his time 2 times a week. He'll be the bartender here.
Okay.
And, like I said, like having, John George cook your steak, having Ricardo make your drink is a lot different than anybody else. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he'll be here, and he's featured here, and we'll have him live music. And again, it's like a really cool, moody room designed for craft cocktails. And just the art of the cocktail. And this is what we're kind of enjoying here in this room.
Yeah, no, I love this room. Okay, so normally, so I just want to make sure we touched on that because I knew I forgot to talk about it, and I do think that's a cool thing to mention about this place overall. So normally what our last segment is our community-driven segment.
Sure.
So, we talked about a lot of different things over the course of this episode, and but one of the things that I always like is try to like tie it back to the community, because the people that listen to this are part of various communities in New Jersey, as are you, because you live here. So that's obviously a big thing. So can you take me through maybe like things that you've done, like whether it's within Asbury Park or kind of different causes and stuff like that you're passionate about, that you support, and all that kind of stuff, so we can kind of make sure that you're a good person as well?
Sure. Well, honestly, the food has been such an important part of my life, and it even started when I was a kid and my grandmother on those Sundays. Right?
Yeah.
The power for food to nurture and create memories is amazing, and it just brings people together. Like the table is a neutralizer, whether you're rich or you're poor. When you're at the table together, you're all eye to eye. You're there for a reason, and I really truly believe like everyone you sit at a table with is like a special moment. Like you talk, you share your life, and it neutralizes, it equalizes all the other things. So like food is really an important thing. So all of my charity work is involving food. I work with No Kid Hungry. I've done events in DC for No Kid Hungry, which is a really important thing in this country. I don't think kids should ever go hungry. I think at the very least, what we can do is offer food in schools and offer it to everyone, so there's no stigma around it. So what I love about No Kid Hungry is they put all these programs into schools, and if you go to a school in this country, you should be able to get your lunch, breakfast, lunch, comped, and that's what No Kid Hungry supports and does funding for. So that's a really huge one for me. Also, I work with the Food Bank of New Jersey. So every year we do a dinner where they auction off tables and the chefs cook. I've done that many years running. Every time one of my favorite things to do is the food bank, and all the proceeds go to restoring food for the food bank and getting food to people that don't have it.
Yep.
On multiple occasions, I cook here at the homeless shelter
Awesome.
once a year.
Yeah.
I do a dinner at the homeless shelter, and I partner with Local 130. They bring the fish. I come in and I cook. And I've done that many times. And just sharing what my abilities are and what I do. And then lastly, I'm doing a fundraiser for the World Central Kitchen. Jose Andres is like a huge inspiration to me. He's like, I think, chef's, kind of standard bearer. He's an activist. He's a chef. He just, again, wants to feed the world,
Right.
make sure people are healthy and nourished. And I think ultimately that's what our jobs are. And he's a huge inspiration. And we're doing a benefit in California. I'm doing a dinner. All the proceeds go to the World Food Bank and help continue to do what they do. World Central Kitchen. Help continue to do what they do and be the first on the boots on the ground at any tragedy. Like right now they're in Pakistan. Like
Right.
he's there.
They go everywhere.
And they go and
Yeah.
if there is a tragedy, Jose Andres is making paella somewhere in this. Like right now in Pakistan, there is a pot of rice happening. Like,
Yeah.
and I there's a comfort in knowing that this person is there to make sure people are fed is the most admirable thing. And he's taken what I do for a living to the next level and doing it for the world and doing it for those that can't. And one day to be able to do that would be amazing. But I'll support him in any way that I can.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love that because it's like, obviously this had a profound, like food, like you were saying before, profound impact on you and your life. And like, that's a great way, because it, in a sense, it almost killed you a couple times, but it also saved you from
Yes.
going down a path of just being miserable your entire life.
Totally.
And then to use that to kind of give back to different communities in various ways is amazing.
Yes.
Is it, because Heirloom Kitchen is in Old Bridge, right? And then where is Lita going to be?
Lita's going to be in Aberdeen. It's about 8 minutes from the original Old
Okay.
Bridge.
All right.
So again, it's in that Matawan, Aberdeen, Old Bridge area.
Yeah. Is it different having a restaurant, like better, worse, or just doesn't matter in the town that you live in?
It's convenient. I get to walk over here.
If I'm home, I should be there.
No, it's convenient. I always feel the need. There's two guilts in my life, and I feel either one or the other. I'm constantly in a state of feeling guilt. If I'm at my restaurant, I feel guilty that I'm not with my son.
Right.
And if I'm with my son, I feel guilty that I'm not with my restaurant. I'm not
Yeah.
at the restaurant, and I could be doing more. So I just gotten used to this baseline level of guilt, and just avoid having it spike for one reason or another. So I just live with this guilt. So
Yeah.
the guilt of not being at the restaurant is
Seems
always
great.
already there. So
Yeah.
that's just happening, and regardless.
Right. And then before we start wrapping this up, can you just tell us what Lita is going to be? Because I think this episode, if I'm not mistaken, is going to come out in October.
Awesome.
So I think that is kind of around the
Yeah,
time.
we're looking December.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
So leading
it's
up
under
to that.
construction right now as we speak, and with construction, I'm kind of throwing darts as to when
Sure.
we're going to open, but hopefully by December. But it could be October.
Yeah.
And it's an Iberian restaurant, open kitchen concept, with a charcoal hearth, a giant charcoal hearth. All the food will be cooked on hearth, and ultimately, it's really inspired by my heritage and my family, and going to Portugal and experiencing Portuguese food there and experiencing it here and how different that is. And for a state and a Portuguese community that's pretty predominant in this state,
Right.
with a lot of restaurants in Newark and Elizabeth, where I grew up, to see that the level of quality and the care that's given in the food and the passion lost. And that's what I taste, the lack of passion, the lack of, the parents that started these restaurants it's now their grandkids running it. And I don't necessarily, not that there's anything wrong with that, I just don't necessarily feel like there's an association or a passion or connection with what it started with. And you can taste that.
Right.
And my goal is to just, again, make it as authentic, make it as true, make it as loving and caring as I possibly can, and see if that tastes any different than what's being offered right now, and to kind of reinvent that and see it through my eyes, and actually have some staples of things that I had growing up. And my kid gets this Portuguese stew. It's his favorite thing that I make for him is a chicken stew. It's a Portuguese chicken stew, and I cook the spaghetti in the stew, and it's his favorite thing in the whole wide world. And I'm gonna have a whole little stew section that's changing every week, and you're gonna get that dish, something that I make at home in my restaurant,
Right.
and made by me.
Yeah.
And that's the goal for that restaurant, authentic, and also just nostalgic.
Sure.
and what that tastes like.
Yeah.
And let's see if that tastes any different than what people are putting on a plate and calling Portuguese today. Let's just see. I think it'll be different,
check it
but
out.
just.
Well, I remember
see.
you telling me about it the last time I was here, and I was just like, I can't wait for that place. It just sounds so cool.
Yeah.
You know.
Peri chicken, but over coals, you
Yeah.
know, like it's supposed to be.
Right.
You know, things like that. It's just like not taking out any details, not making any shortcuts, just like making it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Love that. Love that. Love this episode. This was so great. But we need to wrap it up because
All right.
you obviously are probably feeling guilt right now that you're not
Yeah.
back there. You spent almost an hour with me. My bad. Well, mostly your bad because you talk so much. But but if people want to learn more about you, about the St. Laurent and Heirloom Kitchen and all that kind of stuff, website, social handles, where can people go?
Heirloom_kitchen for our Instagram. And then me, I'm Chef Dave Viana on
think you're
Instagram
right.
at
Yeah.
Chef Dave Viana. And then as far as St. Laurent, the at St. Laurent.
Yeah.
Those are all of our handles.
Cool.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah. And then reservations, probably need a
Yeah,
reservation.
recommended.
Yeah.
We do some walk-ins at the door, but we're really busy, so recommend reservations. And,
Yeah, it's hard to say. Recommend reservations.
Recommend reservations.
Yeah.
See, I knew I was going to devolve, and now see, I'm done. See,
Well, you
now
just, you
it
did so
happened.
great, and then,
happened.
now it just, well, I mean, you're probably just exhausted. I mean, I'm exhausted. But no, this was so great. I really
Very
appreciate
cool.
you doing this. It was so cool to kind of like learn more about you because, drinking a bottle of whiskey, I did learn plenty.
I think we do learn a lot. I
but
think
this was just
inevitably when you drink a bottle of whiskey with someone,
yeah,
you become
you learn
friends.
a lot about them.
You learn a lot about
but yeah, no, I think that this episode was phenomenal. Yeah, no, I really appreciate you doing this
Thank you.
and
It's
inviting
been
us out.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, so I'll make sure that I put the websites, the social handles in the show notes, so people do want to check out Heirloom Kitchen, the St. Laurent, all that kind of stuff. That'll be in there. So this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. We were here with Chef Dave Viana at Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent in Asbury Park. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.